United States President Donald Trump has just shocked opponents and allies alike with what appears to be a surprising turnaround on his own Middle East policy. After weeks of threatening rhetoric against the Iranian regime, both in public statements and on Twitter, Trump has just made a surprising new proposal, seemingly offering the exact opposite. ILTV's Brett Allen Smith is here with more.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks. So until now, President Trump has not minced any words when it comes to his feelings on Iran. I mean, he put those feelings into policy earlier this year, of course, when he pulled America out of the JCPOA nuclear deal. That decision has escalated tensions between the Islamic regime and the United States. Now, here's what Trump has just tweeted to Iran's president last week in all caps. Never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. That's the quote. But now here's what Trump has just said when asked if he'd be willing to meet with Iran and revisit the nuclear deal. Take a look.
With anybody, I believe in meeting. The Prime Minister said it better than anybody can say it. Speaking to other people, especially when you're talking about potentials of war and death and famine and lots of other things, you meet. There's nothing wrong with meeting. We met, as you know, with Chairman Kim, and you haven't had a missile fired off in 9 months. We got our prisoners back. So many things have happened so positive.
All right, so now, if I understand this correctly, he's talking about a meeting with Rouhani with no set preconditions, likening it to the recent summit with North Korea, correct?
Yeah, so just so there's no gray here, Trump himself did clarify that statement with the words, no preconditions, anytime they want. So obviously this is a pretty startling offer coming from a U.S. president for a whole number of reasons, who has been very clear about how much he does not want to meet with Iran until now. This isn't the first time it's been said, but I think Trump's words even took his own team by total surprise. Almost immediately after saying no precondition, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo actually laid out a list of preconditions to the press. I think even Iran was kind of baffled by this statement because then Iran also laid out their list of preconditions for any meeting that could take place, which obviously revolves around some kind of a return to the original terms of the JCPOA.
All right, so now let's just play devil's advocate here. Let's say that both sides were to take this offer to heart and agree to a sit-down with no preconditions laid out. Wouldn't that dialogue be potentially a good thing, or at the very least, could it really do that much more harm?
Look, anything can happen, right? But there's a reason that traditionally these high-stakes meetings come with a list of preconditions. One, it makes both parties put skin in the game and take those talks more seriously to begin with. Two, it's something of a power play, right? That kind of sets the tone for future negotiations. I mean, ironically, you don't have to look much further than the example that Trump himself brings up here. I mean, his North Korea summit with Kim Jong-un, I'm not denying that the needle has moved a little bit there in terms of American-North Korean relations, but the lack of strong preconditions for that meeting are definitely not negligible. I mean, literally today, the United States intelligence announced that North Korea is building new missile sites for intercontinental ballistic missiles as we speak, despite the agreement that they signed on paper that Trump and Kim signed to de-escalate. That's not exactly an example I think the U.S. wants to follow with Iran.
All right, well, for now, it remains to be seen whether or not the White House will actually seek to engineer a summit with Iranian leaders. We'll have to wait for the dust to settle on this and see how it'll actually play out and whether or not it'll even really impact Israel at all.
Totally agree.
Brett, thank you for the report.
Of course.